My name is Louise King. I'm the crazy cellist who decided 4 years ago now to actually create a retreat, a summer intensive for people in my community to come, pause, reflect, and to deepen their practice. And on the Zoom call, we have some wonderful faculty. And I would love to pass this over to Rachel to maybe introduce yourself, seeing as your mic is still on. Rachel, would you like to just give a quick overview of you and your creative practice?
Hi there. Yes, absolutely. So thrilled to be here. Thank you for asking me, Louise. It's just an absolute delight. Um, I've been playing the cello for 42 years now, and started off classical. I'm from New Zealand, so it was pretty much whatever was available back then. And so I started with a bit of Suzuki and a little bit of folk and whatever was around. And just loved it. And so I continued through doing all the things that you do, and was lucky enough that when I went to university to do my undergraduate degree, I went down to Canterbury University in Christchurch, and there were two completely mad Russian cellists there. And I just thought, all of my music dweeb dreams had come through. It was like, I found my masters. I can become a cello Jedi. And, did the serious classical thing with them for several years and continued with a master's in London and went to Juilliard to study for a couple of years and then joined a string quartet, which was a real about face for me because I'd always done piano trios before. I don't know if you guys have found that you feel like either a piano trio or a quartet person. And I always thought the quartet people were just a bit too crazy and that piano trios had more fun. Um, but I got offered an amazing chance to join an existing group, and I just couldn't pass it up and ended up over in Germany studying with the Albenberg Quartet, and it was tremendous. And then that led to me coming to Australia and playing with the Australian String Quartet, or becoming that group, becoming the Australian String Quartet and I played in that position for 7 years, which was amazing and took me all over the place. But I have to admit that by the time 7 years was kind of clocking up, it felt like it was time to move on. And it did feel like there was all of this stuff that I'd always loved doing. I'd always loved playing with bands and doing some improv and doing some other styles of music. And I just felt if this isn't the time that I grab the opportunity, it may never happen. And so at that point, I went out and I really started pursuing opportunities in the non-classical world. And it led me to just a whole other universe of musical expression. And I'm so glad I followed that path. It's allowed me to do things in my life and involving, kind of having a life with a family as well, which I don't know how most people in the full-on classical world manage that when they do. They're magical. But for me, it was so nice to be able to be in a more holistic environment musically and to actually just really explore all of those things about different types of music and different styles of playing and idioms that I'd always wanted to, and meeting the people who just are deeply steeped in those traditions or those styles of playing. So to be able to bring some of that stuff that I've shared and the mixture of crazy stuff I've got inside my head to this retreat is going to be really wonderful. I'm so looking forward to it.
And do you feel sometimes, Rachel, that becoming a musician is a very strange, weird path, whatever that means for people? And I think a part of the philosophy of the retreat is being very inclusive to all
Mm.
ages and all
Yeah.
levels. How do you see yourself fitting into that space? And I'm very well aware that, of course, you already tutor for a lot of folk retreats and groups. So do you want to just kind of help people think that actually there isn't this kind of traditional hierarchy that we often find in classical music? And how could
Yeah.
you help people in
Yeah.
that space?
I think one of the things I appreciate so much about, I don't feel like I've necessarily crossed sides or anything like that, but one of the things I really, really love about non-classical traditions is that idea that it's not just the most worthy who get to play music. And that's sometimes what it feels like in the classical world. Like you can't join in until you're good enough. And of course, there's elements of kind of facility and, ability to do different things. But your musical vision and what's in your heart and the things that you have to say creatively, they have to be able to come out at any stage of picking up an instrument because that's the thing I think that we're all um, able to share directly with each other is our musical souls. And so my feeling when I'm kind of getting in a space with cellists is I really want to know what they want to say. I really want to know what they want to share, what they want to learn. And then I feel like my role is to say, I think I can help you with this thing. Like, if you feel like you're locked up in this part of your technique, or if you feel you're locked up in this part of your musicality, there's different ways that we can come and approach that. If you feel like you're pretty strong here, but you'd love to know another way to do something, that's something that maybe I can help with. And so it's really about just taking anything that I can find to help you get where you're going. It
Right,
doesn't,
right.
I'm not. I find it quite frustrating when people say, this is the only way to play, or this is the
Yeah.
only way to do the thing. And it's like, come on, there's a
So really
million voices.
exploring and really encouraging that kind of
Yeah.
autonomy,
Yep.
choice. And
Yep.
I think that's a very important part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel, what a treat. I can hear you're so excited. I'm so excited to actually get you up to this community. Thank you so much for sharing. And as you
Pleasure.
can hear already, there is such a phenomenal legacy and history and experience in you. And wow, I also can't wait to play music with you, which is going to be really
Yay.
exciting. So, what I'm going to get you to do, Rachel, is you're going to go a little bit onto mute. We're going to bring into the
Sure.
foreground now Francesca. And Francesca is our emerging artist in residence for 2026. And I am so thrilled that Francesca said yes. Just give us an overview of you and what you're busy doing. You're doing some amazing things right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Francesca Maisel. I recently just got back from Scotland. I was studying my master's in cello performance there, which was an amazing experience. I knew I had to just go overseas and, yeah, just go somewhere new, meet new people. And the biggest thing I learned about that experience was everything I learned from my teacher, Alison Wells. She is actually a body mapping specialist, so I've become really passionate about finding ways of moving more freely and understanding how the body works naturally in my own playing, but also especially teaching, because I think so many people feel, locked up or like limited, and so I really like to use that more in my teaching. I'm really, yeah, excited and passionate to share that. And the other thing, I guess, like you were touching on, there's not like one way to play. And at the Royal Conservatoire where I was at, it was all about like, you know, more just like a mix of genres, mix of disciplines, really just like not a classical tradition at all. And yeah, it transformed the way I thought about sound, I think. Like I was always so obsessed with finding like a really pure sound all the time, but then I started to delve into more contemporary music and found I felt more free and expressive, which I'm sure you can get in classical music as well. I love it all, but yeah, so that's a little bit about me, and I'm actually back in Brisbane now to yeah share what I've learned, I guess, and yeah teach, perform. And when Louise contacted me, I was really excited. I haven't been here long, so it's a great way to kind of yeah get back into the music scene in Australia. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, and what you might not be aware of is it's actually the only kind of retreat, specifically cello retreat of its kind in Australia and New Zealand. And it's very early days yet, but it's really exciting to see so many people jump on.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have other people who are not able to introduce themselves, but of course, another very important member of the faculty would be Georgi Derry, who is the senior lecturer at the Queensland Conservatorium, Griffith University, and he'll be joining us for the Sunday. But the majority of the retreat will be facilitated by myself with an amazing team who you've already met, Francesca, and of course, Rachel. And then we also have other people who are yet to be on this Zoom call. We have a wonderful retreat accompanist who's Lisa Perlow, who will be there to accompany for the masterclasses, which is great. She's a wonderful professional pianist and accompanist, but she's actually a beginner cello student. And that's what I love about it. She's part of my community class program, and she's totally modeling what we're doing. And she, of course, because she can read music very proficiently, is just fascinated in the technical challenges of learning a string instrument. As you can imagine, going from piano world to string world, it's a very different way of using your body.
Mm.
So I find that having people like her on the kind of participant list actually creates a really wonderful dynamic conversation as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep going around the Zoom room, and I'm going to bring in a couple of participants I can see on the call. If you're comfortable to talk a little bit about yourself and why you've signed up, I'd love to know a little bit. And of course, thank you very much for being part of the retreat for 2026. Shall we open it to Grace? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Grace?
Hi, Louise. Lovely to face meet you. I've spoken to you on the phone. And there's the lovely Francesca, who, before she trotted off to Scotland, used to be my teacher. So Francesca was a wonderful cello teacher, very passionate. Sadly, she had to go. So we had to go and find, Carol and I had to go and find another cello teacher, but Carol's coming to the workshop as well. I'm one of these people who's had very limited music training, and I'm retired now. And about 8-10 years ago, I decided to start learning to play the cello, which meant I had to learn to read music. I had to learn both bass. I knew a little bit about. I knew how to read treble clef a little bit, but then I had to relearn everything. So I was a complete newbie. And I guess the hardest thing is just being able to play as well as people who are in your age group who did learn to play as a child. It seems to come a lot more naturally to them, whereas I think when you're a little bit older, it's always that much more of a challenge. So I'd really like to improve. I love playing the cello. I love listening to the cello probably more than I love
I
playing
mean,
it.
it is the best instrument in the world, isn't it?
And it won top instrument in
Biased.
classic. What was it? The ABC Classic Best Instrument. So
That's right.
yeah. So that's me in a little bit tiny of a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you so much. And of course, I can't wait to meet you in person. It's been great to chat to you. We also have Mark on the line. I don't know if Mark would like to unzoom and actually be seen. It's okay if you don't want to. You might just be curious and what I call a lurker. And a lurker means someone who doesn't want to do the video, and that's fine. There's also going to be, of course, people like that generally in the retreat. We have to try and bring you more into the center. And of course, so much of that is to do with confidence. So, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually whiz through a quick agenda and all the kind of frequently asked questions. Before I jump into that, though, perhaps there's an immediate question, particularly from anybody on the Zoom call. If you have got questions, just open up and just ask me. Otherwise, I'm just going to run through some frequently asked questions and some logistics. No questions? Great. All right. So we've done our little quick hello. We've got a real kind of vibrant mix of people coming to the retreat. We've got everything from age 13 to 82. Isn't that fabulous?
Wow.
And that's what I love about cello. We're generally all about building community and inclusivity. So that's a very important kind of value thread in our retreat. And it's really an ecosystem we're building here. We're trying to be as encouraging, as inclusive as possible. And of course, some people pick their own adventure. So what you need to be remembering is that not everyone will sign up bravely for the full retreat. Some people will actually just pick your own adventure and might only come for the cello choir and maybe only come for the technique, or might actually just observe the master classes because that's what they feel more comfortable doing. And I've found in the last 3 years I've run it, this is kind of a way to kind of draw people in and very importantly, build trust. So just be aware that there might be kind of a bit of a flexi community happening. And we also are joined not only just with cellists, but also wonderful wellness practitioners. A very important part of this experience is also having that element open to us, like how we need to look after our body, our well-being, both mentally, emotionally, physically. And we have Liz Page with Feldenkrais, Awareness Through Movement, who's on the Sunday. She's a fantastic facilitator, and she specifically designs a class for cellists sitting on a chair rather than on the floor. So everything you're kind of experiencing when you're sitting with an instrument, she works with you directly in that space, which I think is fantastic. A lot of Feldenkrais practitioners wouldn't do that. And then we also have on the Saturday, I'm kind of reversing in my mind, sorry. We have Saturday, we have a wonderful meditation teacher who actually is in the community already. I don't know if you know, but in Eudlo, we have a wonderful Shenrezig Institute. It's the largest Buddhist institute in Australia. And she's actually in the community teaching on that. She's actually a retired Buddhist monk. She did her training for 15 years, but she's actually a retired violinist. So she did all of her training through Melbourne, did lots of professional work, and then she's gone into a whole other space. And she is an expert in dealing with performance anxiety and being in the present moment. So I find a lot of adults struggle with fear of judgment, nerves, performance anxiety. I mean, I do too. And this is why I thought Shara would be fantastic at just running a class on that. And it's very practical, and she gives you lots of toolkits for that. She's also a naturopath. So she talks a lot about inner wellness inside out. So I think that's a fantastic session. And then the very first session, we kick off with Nienka, who is a wonderful yogi. She's also a trained sound therapist. So she does a lot of wonderful things with vibrations, vibrational healing. And she's also been part of my festival team recently. I've seen her work in person, and she's just an extraordinary human. So don't forget that there are all of those other elements that you can thread in. And just because you've signed up for the full retreat potentially as an early bird participant, for example, doesn't mean you have to be totally present and engaging the full time. I think it's very important that you pace yourself. So my next point is this. Whoever's done an immersive workshop, I mean, all of us as musicians have gone through things like national music camps and like 2-week kind of music camps, and you just can't sustain it. Your brain literally gets saturated. So I think it's a very important thing to kind of just pace yourself, trust your body, listen to yourself. If you just need to walk out of the space and actually just refresh, restore, grab a cup of tea, rehydrate, that's a very important thing to do. You have to judge your own body and your own ability to retain. The other thing I encourage people to do is bring a journal. There are so many nuggets of wisdom that will be dropped in literally just at you. And you don't actually even have to play at that moment. You might just want to write it down. And for those digital savvy people, there's either people who actually record the whole thing on voice memos, and that's totally fine. I think it's very important that we share the knowledge and find a way that you can kind of encapsulate your learning every day. So a little retreat overview of what to expect. The basic schedule kind of builds with body warm up, and then we go straight into brain. So I actually believe holistically there's only 4 aspects we need to train, which is the body, the brain, the ear, and the heart. And the retreat aspects are very much designed around that. So once we've kind of warmed up the body, we kind of go straight into the brain analysis. And often adult students, I find, really want to know very fine detail about shifting or mechanisms with vibrato or bow stroke articulations. And there's so much in that space. But what I've tried to do over the 3 days is focus on the first day with left hand. Then the second day is all bow. And then the final day is all about studies and methods and more those traditional as well as contemporary studies we can use to kind of develop our playing. And that would include, things like the Feuillard exercises or even the Contemporary Etudes book that Mike Block put together, which is, I'm assuming Rachel would be all over that because I love that book. And so really the focus in the morning is use your brains while it's fresh. And then once we've gone into technical things, we break straight away into more things like a very important morning tea, which is connection. which is very important to kind of talk to people around you. You need to be at least accumulating 5 more humans you know every day. And then immediately after you feel kind of restored with a bit of nutrition, we're going straight into the cello choir. And I've extended the cello choir timing because everybody in the last 3 years have said it's too short, it's too compact. So this allows us to actually break into sectionals this time. With an hour and a half, we can actually kind of break into our cello ones, cello two, cello three, cello fours, and all of our faculty will look after you. We have designated areas for that. And we're even activating Eudlo State School, which is a very cute primary school across the road from the hall, which has got a library and it's air conditioned. So good on Eudlo State School for that. And once we've kind of done those sectionals, we'll then kind of come together as a tutti, as an all-together group. And I think that will just help build some of those more nervous, potentially newbie ensemble players into that kind of flow of what an orchestra or cello choir, as I call it, can sound like. Then we break for lunch, which means that there's 2 cafes, literally 20-meter walk from the hall. So you can kind of pick where you want to go. And lunch is BYO. And then immediately after that, we're going to go into a masterclass, which means you're kind of nourished and you can kind of come to the masterclass armed with a journal or however you want to kind of grab all those little amazing wisdom pieces. And after the masterclass, we're going into our breakout pods at 4 o'clock, which is really where you can decide your own adventure. You could have a guided chat with a cup of tea with someone like Francesca, who might want to talk a little bit about what it's like being a young artist and all the things she's doing. It might be journaling, where you might want to go on your own to sit under a tree and just kind of really think a little bit about what you want to do. You might actually just want to privately practice and get your fingers around something from the cello choir. Another very important element I brought in this year is a theory cram. In my intermediate cello class program, I have a wonderful, very experienced theory teacher, and Karen Eastman has volunteered to run a theory session for those adults who feel like they've kind of avoided everything to do with notation and reading. So she's going to completely nail stuff like that, which I think is brilliant. If you wanted to do like an improv jam session, you've got Rachel who can completely lead that. She'll be able to kind of go, let's just have a go at a tune. And she can take off those people who want to kind of have a bit of a jam and improv. And then, of course, I have printed sheets for those kind of people who feel a little bit nervous about stepping away from the printed page. And I have a collection of chamber music, everything from simple duos all the way through to very advanced quartets. So you can kind of pick your adventure at that point. And I find that that's the moment where people start to really find their cello tribe and the people that they really kind of really connect with. And then it's dinner, personal time. And for us as faculty, that's when we actually start getting into sound checks, so you know. And then we'll have basically summer concerts in the evening, or on the Sunday, it will be the afternoon, which is when the cello choir features. So basically, each day is divided a little bit into, I suppose, like a theme. So, for example, the full Friday is all about folk immersion and really trying to really get embracing in that idea of what does folk music look around the world. And then the second big full day, which is the Saturday, will be more about Baroque style and tango and that connection with music and movement. I find that a lot of the Bach dance suites, for example, feel very similar to tango. There's so much connection with music and movement and rhythm. So we can kind of start to deepen that and really help you understand where rhythm comes into play, particularly with the bow arm and articulation. And it's so essential for being able to play in an ensemble to really sense beat and pulse. And then our final day is really where we're kind of immersing into classical music. And I find that a lot of people love that afternoon concert, especially because we have an opportunity to do a world premiere. So I've just put out a call for scores to as many composers as I know. And it's been so exciting to see things dropping into my inbox. And I will be able to release the Call for Scores composer and the new work that will premiere next week. And what will happen is the faculty will get together, I'll share that, and they will be able to see that, and we'll select the work. And by next Wednesday, you will have the music into the music drive, so you can start getting practicing and learning that new score. And I think it's really exciting to support living composers. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity. And so basically, the most important moment for you guys to think about is whether you want to engage in the masterclasses. And we generally would reserve masterclasses for grade 7 minimum and above, grade 7 Amy B. And that's just because there's so much wonderful repertoire there for us to start to really deepen. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to work with very skilled cellists who can really kind of open up their work. And their masterclasses are also extended this year for an hour and a half. We found that they were just too short, and there was lots of questions coming in from the observers. And one frequently asked question I find is people don't actually know what a masterclass is. So I might just start with that basic. Now, I find a masterclass in a simple sense is teaching in action in observation, meaning that there will be one cellist working with a teacher or a facilitator, and then they will be talking to the crowd. And the people who are listening are actually an integral part of the masterclass. Because often a good facilitator will ask questions or get responses from the crowd and really help things land for you when you're learning. So to me, a masterclass is actually never dead time. It's actually time for you to really listen carefully and think a little bit about how you could apply some of those ideas or principles into your own playing at any level. And it's where I find the artistry of playing the cello comes into the foreground. So those are always exciting, and they're kind of very beloved moments. But I actually do want to just check in. A lot of adults kind of don't know quite why you would be sitting and listening. And I actually want to just open this up to Francesca. Perhaps you as a younger musician can help us understand why listening to teaching in action like that can help. Do you mind just helping me with that one? Support that idea?
Yeah. So, well, from my experience, I think sometimes when I'm practicing, or even when I'm in a lesson, and I'm the student, I'm not always listening to my own playing properly. And I think as soon as you take yourself out of the picture and you can just observe someone else, you can pick up on so much more. And yeah, like you were saying, apply it to your own playing. So I think that's the main thing, is just you actually absorb it and listen properly. That's what I found.
Yeah, without that physicality of the
Yeah.
doing, right? So, yeah, I think observation space and collecting the data is critical for success. So, thank you for supporting that. Okay, I'm now going to go into things like how to prepare. I get a lot of questions and emails and concerns about how perfect the cello choir music should be. We're here to support you, and the next Zoom call, which is in January, will be more about how to support you with the learning. Now, we actually would prefer you not to be too learnt, not to be too stuck. So the most important thing about rehearsals for me is that we're flexible enough to try a down bow instead of an up bow, to try a second finger in second position instead of a first finger. Okay, so this is the idea that yes, we will have a suggested guideline of bowings and fingerings, but I find that a lot of adult students struggle with this idea that we can try new things in a rehearsal. And I want to encourage you to not be too locked in with tempi, bowings, and fingerings when we get there. It's a great start, but it's not the only way to play. So let's be flexible enough in our thinking to kind of find what works best for the team that you're in. So if you're in section 3, you might find that you can do something really phenomenally exciting and add vibrato, but then maybe the rest of the group aren't necessarily doing that. So we might have to adapt your playing so we blend and harmonize. That would be the most important thing for me in ensemble: blend and balance. And that's just adapting. Okay. So don't kind of tie your fingers in a knot and get all too stressed about, oh my gosh, I've got to practice the cello choir music. And the other thing I often get asked is, which part do I play? I assign you a part. Please do not play any other part. Just say that again. Because I have found that a lot of adult students kind of get a bit curious and they go, why can't I play the melody? Because they're used to in solo work playing the melody, but in a ensemble, sometimes you're playing middle parts, harmony, or bass line. And the reason I'm assigning that is so we have a balanced view. And very importantly, the work has to be presented in that way. Often they're four-part music. We have provided a cello 5 for those people who are a little bit nervous, even about cello 4. And that's totally fine to be in cello 5 world, because you might find you're in cello 5 world for the first retreat and you might step into cello 4 for the next retreat. It's about giving you a system you can kind of come in. And multi-level parts, meaning cello 1 will be the hardest, mostly melody, very high register, thumb positions sometimes, even tenor clef, treble clef at times. So don't go there if you don't need to. Stick in your lane and just feel really good and confident with that space. Okay, so recommended equipment, very essential, wooden hall. You need a cello end pin stop. I find most people have one anyway, but you'd be surprised how many times I've forgotten one as a musician myself. So just check it when you're packing. You've got that and also spare strings. We do not live in a city. This is a regional community. If you needed a spare string, we'd be raiding my very large box of old strings. And that could take me 40 minutes to find an A string. So bring your own set of strings. And as I said, just do what you can when you can. Sometimes overwhelm kicks in the first cello choir rehearsal because it's all new, it's all fresh. And by the way, Eudlo Hall sounds glorious with cellos in it. It's quite bathroomy, quite soupy. And so if you're used to playing in a dry space, often a bedroom, for example, or a living room, you might go, whoa, there's a lot of noise going around me. So we're there to kind of help direct your ears around the ensemble and help you know that it's okay just to step out if you need to, and literally just sit there and listen, follow the score. We'll get you into the program as we go. But generally, the very first cello choir rehearsal on the Thursday night is about us trying to play through warts and all, test drive the music, and we need to see what's hanging together and where it's falling apart, because then we can actually really ascertain where we can help best. Okay, so anyone with masterclass interest, please sign up by 15th of December. There is that element on the registration form. If you don't know where that is, just hit me up with an email. I'll show you what we need to do. And that's also so Lisa can also prepare the often gigantically hard piano parts that go with more advanced repertoire. We don't want to kind of lurch at her on the week. Concerts, I think, are very important. Let's get you inspired. By the time your 5 p.m. hits over, you'll be just thinking, wow, it's sunset drinks, And what you need to do is realize you can refresh then, go out for dinner in the community and actually come back in and then get really excited about us guys up on stage. And I think that's a really fantastic way to share our expertise and, very importantly, bring the public in. So many people in this community are excited about the fact that they will often see up to 20 cellos walking through the street and go, what's going on? There's a concert. So we often find we pick up people as we go. So I love to see supportive audience culture, both for masterclasses and concerts. Logistics and practicalities. When you first arrive, basically there's a sign up little desk and you just give your name and you create your own little kind of name badge. Now, I will very likely know everybody in that space, but you need to wear your name badge at least for day one, just because then we'll start to clock face with a name. Okay. And that's essential for just building that sense of community, really. If it's really bad weather, you can actually park really close to the hall up both sides. We have doorways in, and there's obviously street parking. Instrument safety, I get asked about a lot. I would prefer you at the end of the day to take your cello with you. It is a community hall. My public liability insurance covers me for the event, but not your instrument insurance. So please do look after your cello. We have volunteers on tap the whole time, but it is a very open space. Even though it's a small community, you just need to be mindful where you put your belongings. So look after them, particularly your cello. If anybody does need to leave a cello in a really secure place, you can bring it to my studio, which is where I'm obviously Zoom calling from. And this is where all of my instruments are, and it's literally just 20 meters up the road. So this is much more secure than the hall. Okay. And that's basically all I needed to talk about. Oh, a very important one. I often get asked, do I need to memorize my music? No. Read music, put lots of pencils, fingerings in, everything. Do whatever you can so you feel comfortable. I'm now going to stop talking and I'm going to see if there's anything I haven't covered. Shoot! Question and answer moment. Is there anything I haven't answered, Grace?
You have to bring your own music stand.
Great question. Yes, you do. This is a community hall. So yes, not a school. Please bring your own music stand and label it. Mind you, I always take pictures if there's anything kind of left in the lost property at the end. But labeling it would be great, even just putting a ribbon on it so it's very quickly identifiable. And that would also include cases. You'd be surprised how many cases look the same now. All these cool, vibrant colors. So if there's a way of just making sure your case stands out, just like we do with a suitcase when we're traveling, think a little bit about that. I think that'd be great. Did that answer your question? If anyone doesn't want to carry one because they're getting on a plane, I have access to stands. So just so you know, I do have 10 stands at home ready to go. But I just think it's easier for you guys to know that's my equipment. Plus, a lot of people are now using iPads, which is cool. Any other questions? From Rachel or Francesca?
Haven't it? Oh, I think that sounds pretty amazing.
Oh, I know. There's a lot to do. Oh, dress code sometimes comes up.
Oh, yes.
And dress code is whatever you want to wear, particularly for the finale concert for the cello choir. And by the way, it's not compulsory to perform in that cello choir. It's highly encouraged as an outcome. But some people just don't feel ready yet. And that's okay. So if you just want to come for the creative development rehearsals and then just step out and be part of the audience and support everyone on Cheer Squad, hooray. But, you know, I think it's really exciting to have an outcome at the end of all those hours of practice. Okay, so I think that's basically it. It is hot sometimes. Actually, it will be hot. I'll be really clear. It can be hot. It can be humid. So definitely the most other important piece of equipment would be a water bottle. Just keep hydrating. And I think the most important tool, if you're analog, is a pencil with an eraser. Can't tell you how many times bowings and fingerings have changed in rehearsal for me. So bring one of those. And obviously, if you're on iPad, bring your Apple Pencil or whatever tablet you're on. Francesca, have you got any questions?
I have a question for the faculty. Just
Yeah.
you mentioned we'll be rehearsing kind of where we can. So is it just in like lunch breaks and
Yep. Basically like a festival, fly seat of the pants kind of experience.
Row it together.
More we're kind of prepped, the
Yeah.
better it is. But actually, this is a very good modeling, I think, for particularly those adult students who are high perfectionists. We don't have the luxury as professionals to actually be paid to rehearse, right? It's quite rare. So we have to model that ability to just be very flexy and just jump in, which is why I've obviously provided you the summer music as soon as I can. And I think it's okay to be like that. I think it's actually a very exciting element of it. But yes, there is a proper sound schedule happening. So basically from 5 o'clock, the retreat finishes, and from 5 till 7, that's our window primarily to really get on the stage, get comfy, eat, very importantly, and just get our brains into being a performer rather than a teacher. But there will be little windows around things where we can kind of squirrel off and come to the studio here, or even sit under a tree and just play some things through. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
No worries. Rachel, have you got any questions?
No, I think that was probably going to be my only question too, is where's the best place to slot in rehearsals? In terms of coming up, I haven't spoken to anyone yet, but I may be carpooling. And I presume your beautiful pianists will only be available for the window of the festival. So we'll just do all of that at the same time?
I reckon so,
Yeah,
yes.
cool.
So Cara, who is the tango pianist
Mm-hmm.
specialist, Cara Tran, she's booked. She's only available for that day. She can
Right.
come up sooner during the day. And again, we can use my studio here, or the school also has a fantastic
Yeah,
weighted, really good keyboard piano. So we
lovely.
can use that too.
Yep.
But yes, it's a very good question. We all need to manage much music in a very short time.
Excitement. At least you
Anyway,
have a Feldenkrais person on tap.
I know, right? And we're all going to need the yoga and everything else. And just keep, yeah, just asking me if there's anything I haven't covered tonight, just hit me up. I'll do my best to kind of cover everything. But I'm very excited. We're already 50% sold, and we already have 18 people as part of the cello retreat choir. So that's really exciting. And it's really attracted a lot of adults this time, which is brilliant. So, well done, everybody, and thank you for being part of it. I'm going to zoom on out now, and it's been gorgeous to see everybody online.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
See you soon. See
See
you
you,
in
Francesca.
January for the next
Bye, Grace.
one.